Assassination. Anyways, it's a pretty good movie. But assassinations, there were 2 assassination attempts actually on the Emperor Hirohito of Japan. Anybody ever heard of Emperor Hirohito in World War II? Yes. You have? No one else. Okay, good. Moving on to that. So, you have Korea and World War II. Usually when you're watching World War II movies, you're not hearing a whole bunch about Korea. Why? Because Korea, as a colony, were really just a representation of the Japanese Imperial Army. So, they were forced into laboring. Now, 1937 started the Second Sino-Japanese War. Has anybody seen the documentary Man King? Anyone? Yeah, okay. Extremely powerful documentary. And if you really want to understand, or at least good idea of how devastating the Japanese were towards the Chinese during World War II, watch Man King, also on Netflix. With a very powerful documentary. So, 1937 starts the World War II for Japan. At that time, nearly about 5.5 million Koreans were forced into working for the war effort for Japan. And about 250,000 were used as soldiers in the Imperial Japanese Army. So, people who wanted independence from a certain nation were now fighting for that nation. And in 1939, I believe, they were instituted as part of the Japanese Empire. At the bottom, you'll see comfort women. If you Google comfort women, you'll get a whole bunch of stuff. And what this was tens of thousands of Korean women who were forced into sex slavery during World War II for Japanese soldiers. Sickening movement, but of course we would talk about this. There are a number of topics within the Korean history that really could take up an entire hour just by itself, but we gotta move on. So, post-World War II. World War II ends, and at this, in 1945, Japan is ushered out by the Russians and the Americans, forced to leave. And so now, what is it? Possibly going back to how things once were. Yes? No, obviously not. Although Japan is forced out, it's now a decision between the powers that be, which is Russia and America, of where is this government going. And one, Russia wants a communist government, and America wants a democratic government. So they're split, literally, on what they should do. So hastily, Americans, they draw a line in the sand, so to speak, and you have the 38th parallel. And that lasts from 1945 to 1950. So, at that time, both of those Korean governments, more or less in 1948, when the leaders stepped forward, you had Kim Il-sung for North Korea, and you have Syngman Rhee for South Korea. They step forward and say, I'm the president, I'm the leader of this country. So you have 2 separate governments from 2 sides of the line saying that we are the sovereign government for the entire Korean Peninsula. Obviously, look like that. Pretty well. So, from there, you have more or less a culmination of what? Perfect timing for an attack by the North Koreans. And you may think, well, why didn't South Korea attack first? Or why did things go a certain way? Well, you have post-World War II. All the countries are tired of fighting. They're devastated. The powers that be are not so powerful anymore. And it begins to just be between Russia and America. And then all of a sudden, China has declared its sovereignty. The Chinese Communist Party wins the Chinese Civil War. Understand this, the North Koreans helped a lot in that war. They helped for the Communist Party. So now they have the backing of China and Russia. Now, America, during this time, knows that Syngman Rhee wants to unify. He wants to go over that 38th parallel, attack North Korea, and get things done and unify. Americans are very afraid of this, so they don't supply them with tanks, they don't supply them with jets, they don't really supply them with good weaponry. However, the North Koreans are continually supplied by the Russians for an attack that would take place on June 25th, 1950. Now, another thing about it being perfect timing was that Douglas MacArthur, anybody know who that is? Yes. Please give me some. Okay. We got about a quarter. Okay, good. Anyways, Douglas MacArthur, who was more or less the head man over that entire region, he considers the threat as F6, the threat of a North Korean attack as F6. So this is South Korean and CIA intelligence coming to him saying there's an imminent threat taking place. He labels it as F6, which is the lowest possible threat level. And he was wrong. Because, and I don't understand why, but it just goes to show how overlooked Korea was at this time. Because from 1945 to 1950, there were continual fights, there were continual skirmishes between North and South Korean soldiers, and about 10,000 had already been killed in that span of time. And yet you don't see it as a potential threat. Well, North Koreans attacked, and Americans eventually intervened, but in piecemeal. The first group that was sent was about 500 soldiers. With World War II stuff, they were outnumbered and heavily outnumbered, and then also they didn't have things that would kill the enemy. Their bazookas would bounce off of the tanks, so they were very, very unprepared. And so you have a number of things that take place. The Incheon invasion is September 15th. Now, June 25th, and about early August, you have the North Koreans flowing all the way down to the bottom of South Korea, almost wiping out the South Korean army and almost wiping out the Americans of those who were there. And so you're at the very bottom, almost wiped out. And then all of a sudden, on September 15th, you have the Incheon invasion, which is more or less the crown jewel of Douglas MacArthur's career. He goes in behind North Korea, the North Korean army, attacks them from behind, and then you have a push-up. I have a little map here of the ebb and flow of the Korean War. If you look here, in this green on this one right here, it's the Pusan perimeter. This is how close the North Koreans were to winning the war and unifying all of Korea under a communist regime. However, about 2 months later, after the start of the war, you have, like I said, the Incheon invasion, and so there's a mighty push-up of UN troops, American troops, and South Korean troops up to the Yalu. The Yalu River separates Manchuria from Korea. You're about 12 miles. So, the North Koreans came very close to unifying through war. South Koreans got really close to unifying through war. Didn't work out, and then all of a sudden, in late November of 1950, the Chinese enter the war, and that changes everything. They send about 300,000 soldiers at once, and they push down upon the UN troops and push them all the way back below, not just the 30th parallel, but below Seoul. And so you're in a situation where now it's a stalemate for about 2 years. And this is where it ends up being the armistice signed at the 38th parallel. Now this new line drawn gave South Korea about 1,500 more square miles of Korea. But the armistice is signed, and now they are officially split in two. Things so close. And something I do want to point out to the significance of what was going on as far as overlooking Korea. President Truman, which we all know, he never went to Korea. He never visited Korea. He met on Wake Island with Douglas MacArthur, which is very, very far away from Korea. Eisenhower, during the 1952 election, one of the things that helped him get that presidency was his promise to go to Korea. He did so. And then that helped, but what really turned the tide in ending this war and signing an armistice was Joseph Stalin on March 5th, 1953, died. And from there, an armistice was quickly, a few months later, finally signed. So you have a return to what? Both sides completely devastated. And I get choked up because I've spent so much time with the Korean War and understanding the devastation that took place in this country with the soldiers, the UN soldiers, but the Korean people. And you return to desolation, the north side and the south side. And so North Korea returns, and 75% of its production capabilities are destroyed. 30% of its population wiped out. But we return to the 30th parallel, where it all started, and Americans begin to help rebuild South Korea. China becomes, really North Korea's only ally, and it's a reversion right back to how it was thousands of years ago, where North Korea says our only ally will be China. And it has continued that way. The hostilities continue. There's a ceasefire sign. Hostilities have continued throughout, even to this day. And you know about it. Kim Jong-un, he's always in the news. That haircut. You know? So, Reginald Thompson, a British reporter, he said it quite well. He said, few people have suffered so terrible a liberation. Now, these numbers vary, and you will find different numbers, but we're going to go with the Department of Defense's number.